If you're an author trying to grow your email list, but nothing has seemed to work, I'm going to share a few reader magnet hacks that's going to help you grow your email list, okay? So let's dive right in. Now, firstly, before we get into the nitty gritty, I've got quite a few tips, but what's a reader magnet? It's basically a freebie that you offer readers in exchange for your emails. So they go to your website or they go to your landing page and they sign up. They give you their email address. In exchange, you give them your reader magnet, right? So for fiction authors, this could be a short story, prequel, character backstory, or something like that. Non-fiction authors, think things like checklist, cheat sheets, quick wins, templates, something goal-oriented. Basically, it's something valuable that readers think they would like to get. Okay, and they're more than happy to give you their email address. All right. Tip number 1 is don't overthink what reader magnet you should create. Okay, don't overthink it. Right. So you need to aim for speed. Speed to market is the thing. All right. So for nonfiction, for example, you'd be like using Canva, Creative Fabrica, or maybe Tangent templates. Something easy to use, easy to create. Just bang a few out. Create a helpful PDF or a short guide, right? So for fiction authors, maybe write a short backstory or side quest or something like that. Make sure it's well edited, okay? So it still needs to be, good quality, right? Don't just don't just fudge it, okay? You have to make sure it's decent quality, otherwise people remember you for crap, really. So you don't want that. Anyway, the first tip is make sure you create it quickly. Alright, but make sure it's of decent quality. Tip number 2 is be willing to swap it out. In fact, I encourage you to swap it out, but only after you listen to the rest of the tips, because you need to know this stuff. So before you swap it out, I'm going to cover that on the next tip. But, be willing to swap out your reader magnet. So if something's not working, don't beat a dead horse. It's not working. Clearly there's no results. You're not getting downloads. So try different things. But, be willing to, just mentally be willing to try a different reader magnet. So for nonfiction, maybe try a different template, a different checklist, a different download, a different guide. Maybe you haven't solved their pain points sufficiently. For fiction authors, maybe rotate between stories of main characters, sidekick, origin story, alternate endings, or alternate universe, and just basically try different reader magnets, because the usual thing that doesn't work is you write something that you think everyone's going to love, but people don't, and they can't tell you. They're not willing to tell you. If people aren't going to give you their email address, they're not going to take the time to then tell you this is a crap story. Now, some people will, don't get me wrong, but the majority of people will just turn off, okay, and that's quite sad. So if something isn't working, be willing to swap it out. Okay, so here's the tip number 3 that you need to pay attention to, and there's one more tip after this. Now, tip number 3, A/B testing. Okay, so basically you test one thing and then you test the other and see which one works better. Now, here's the good stuff, if you like. So when people sign up or people go to your website or landing page or whatever it is, you need to test what's on your landing page. You need to test what you are giving to readers. So things like subject lines. So if they sign up to your email list, for example, test the subject line. See whether you get more downloads with a certain subject line. Test the the landing page heading, the hero picture, which hopefully will also feature your cover of your reader magnet, right? So it has to be there somewhere. Maybe change out the cover if it's not working, right? So try the landing page wording, try the landing page image, basically dial in the landing page. If that doesn't work, then maybe you have to try other things, right? But basically the landing page A/B testing, see what works first. And if the covers don't work, that's okay. Just get something relatively cheap. You can do it yourself, if you've got the skills, or you can hire someone using Midblot or Fiverr. That's relatively cheap, Now with A/B testing, the important thing here is you have to track what works. So track stuff like the clicks or the open rates or the conversions, stuff like that. You need to track those things. But yeah, you need to test different things out. Okay, so it's not going to be like oh, just do this and then it'll work. You got to test different things. Okay. Now this is the final tip number 4. If after testing those things with the reader magnet landing page and the email stuff, if that doesn't work, then change the email magnet. Okay, so I kind of saved the best tip for last. You don't want to change the reader magnet before you've had an opportunity to test out all the other things. If your landing page works, then people should sign up before they've seen your reader magnet, right? So that's kind of like your sales page. If the sales page works, people will sign up for the reader magnet. Now, if when they sign up for the reader magnet and then you email them and they're not engaged maybe, and your email marketing machine isn't really working, then maybe you have to be like, maybe they didn't like the story, maybe they didn't like the download, and then you can offer them the new download, and then you can change that download on your landing page, right? But before you swap out the reader magnet, your first reader magnet, for example, you need to test the marketing assets, right? So your landing page, the covers, that kind of stuff. Okay, so don't just like immediately think I've got to swap out my reader magnet. The reader magnet takes time to create. It's the one that takes the most time. It takes most of your time to create. So it's always easiest and quite frankly, it's the smart thing to do. You got to work smart. Okay, so the smart thing to do is test the marketing pages, the landing page, the cover of the reader magnet. Those are easy wins, right? Test those things first before you change the reader magnet. All right. So once you keep track of this stuff like Google Sheets or Excel or something, then and nothing moves the needle on your landing page and marketing assets, then change the reader magnet. And you can always email your list for people who have already signed up and say, oh, by the way, I created this new reader magnet. Here it is. Let me know what you think, right? So that's tip number 4. Change the magnet only after testing your marketing assets first. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's no such thing as the perfect reader magnet. It just doesn't exist, okay? And there's no one thing works for everyone, right? Something that works for one person may not work for another. So the key here is to test and tweak as you go along. Tweak and improve. It's an iterative process. It's not a one and done. But the key thing is not to spend hours. You should create the magnets as quickly as you can, and then track small changes, to your landing page, to your marketing, like the book cover stuff. Track those things first, see what works, and then if nothing works, then change the reader magnet, right? So reader magnets, are just one part of building like your author platform. If you want a deeper dive into book marketing, click on this video right here, or check out this video that YouTube thinks is perfect for you. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you there.